and you fill in the blank for all 32 teams in the NFL. But we, of course, have to start with this. We've been talking a lot about coffee this morning and the correct milk to coffee ratio, and then you come in here with a pink foamy thing. What is going on with your coffee
Starbucks
order?
It's called a raspberry cream cold brew. Ooh. And yeah, it does have pink foam on the top, and it gets a lot of funny looks, but man, it is delicious.
It looks refreshing.
I'd take this over that pumpkin spice stuff any day of the week.
Well, that's already out.
Same.
It's already out. I saw it yesterday.
Out in August. It's not cool.
No.
Like I went in, I saw the liquor store. There all the pumpkin beers. I'm like, nah. Not yet. Like I'm a big Halloween guy. Like I'm into it, but not yet. Like it's August.
I'm struggling with Halloween. Yeah. So Graz, we love Halloween here on Unsportsmanlike. Last year we dressed as Happy Gilmore.
Oh boy.
Evan was Happy. Cece was Chubbs. I was the alligator that bit his hand off. It was a great. Pat was the caddy. We all kind of participated. I'm really struggling with a Halloween costume for us this year. I've been thinking about it, no lie, for months. I even asked ChatGPT. I cannot come up with a good solution for us this year. We're struggling. So any ideas? Send them my way.
Yeah, we always throw a party. Like we decorate the whole house, and so we've done couples costumes the last few years. Like one year we were. Pulp Fiction, like John Travolta, Uma Thurman. So we get at Halloween, but but we have some time. Is my point. But I like to know what I want to do because I have to convince the guys to do it, and then we have to order the costumes. We have to come up with a plan. Like last year, I had to have my whole face painted like an alligator or a crocodile, whatever it was, an alligator. Anyway, Dan, let's get to the piece here. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons. Are we getting any closer to a resolution between he and Jerry Jones? I think so. I think actually the next couple of days could be pretty big. It feels like, as a reporter, sometimes you're like, you just sort of get a sense when a story has changed a little. Maybe people are giving you different kinds of answers. Maybe they're not texting you back when they always do, that kind of thing. So I feel like last night we kind of felt like something had changed a little, and this was getting close to a resolution. Now, what that resolution is, I don't think anybody knows. He could he could play out his fifth-year option, show up next week and play. He could get a new contract from the Cowboys, although it doesn't sound like there's been any recent work done on that. He could continue to sit out with what he says is a back injury, and if the team says he's okay to play and he says he's not, then they have a fight, and then there's the trade possibility, which I think at this point is more realistic than we've given it credit for so far. I think they are probably at a point where they would at least take a phone call.
And would that phone call potentially be the Packers, Dan?
We've heard a lot of teams. I think they're an interesting team to watch. Anybody that needs pass rush help and has high hopes, and the Packers, I think, would fit that. Buffalo would fit that. I mean, I think Detroit, but they're trying to pay Aiden Hutchinson. It's doubtful they could probably fit both of them onto their budget, so that doesn't seem likely. Top of my head, I'm trying to think who else we've heard, but yeah, I think it's. I think it's certainly, it makes sense. The Packers are a team that has the youngest roster in the league and, won a lot of games last year but couldn't get past the Lions and the Vikings. So, yeah, I mean, like a player like this, anybody who's a contending team is going to say, like, look, yeah, we think we can make this work and if you're willing to do it. And so, yeah, I think if you look at any of those teams.
Well, let's bear down on the Packers because Brian Gutekunst talked yesterday, and he didn't say a flat-out no, which I think a lot of people are latching onto as saying there's a chance.
Yeah, that's me.
Can you give me the parameters of what this could look like? Because I know the comp everybody's throwing out is Herschel Walker, which seems absurd. 3 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks in the process. Like, what players do you think the Packers would move? All of it combined, what could happen here?
I really would rather not lock in on a specific team because I don't know, and I don't want to start stirring things up like that. So I recognize that rumor's out there about the Packers, and that's why Brian Gutekunst was being asked about it yesterday. But I don't know that's. But I think in general, a couple of first-round picks and maybe a player. Like if you're a team that has a defensive lineman that you can send back who's under contract and might be a helper in a Matt Eberflus defense. So if you look at any of the teams we're talking about, do they have those kinds of players in their front seven that would at least, Dallas doesn't want to do a rebuild. So you might need to get somebody back that can help you right now in addition to the picks because of what you're losing. Not that you could replace him one for one with anyone, But you might get a very helpful piece for a defense that you would now have to put together without him.
We're speaking with Dan Graziano, our senior NFL reporter here on Sportsmanlike, and we're presented by Progressive Insurance. And Dan, Adam Schefter joined us earlier in the week and said something that is sticking in my mind, where he talked about this being Jerry Jones's Waterloo and how he doesn't want to lose this one. But I'm trying to discern, what is a loss for Jerry? Is it letting a star player go out the door? Is it paying Micah more than he believes that he is worth? Where is the L here? And with you saying that a trade is more likely now than maybe it was prior, I just am curious, in your opinion, because you've covered this league for a long time, would you be surprised if Jerry doesn't retain a star in Dallas? Because that's typically what happens.
At this point in this case, I would not be surprised if it ended up with Micah Parsons elsewhere. And now, when you say a trade more likely than it's been, like you go back a week, I would have told you of 0%, right? That he might be somewhere else for this year. And now I'm not as certain of that. And so that's a great question. And I would love for someone to ask Jerry, like, what would a win be, right? Like I think the win would be like, he tried to sign him. Like, he offered him a contract back in the spring, and the intent was to sign him and keep him there long term. But obviously, everything that's happened since has soured the relationship in a significant way. And if you feel like it's not resolvable, then maybe you do try and do the Herschel Walker redux, right? And get the mother load of picks and maybe a player that can help, and just sort of be done with a situation that's gotten ugly and might not be able to be rescued.
As you said, Dan, the situation has gotten ugly, and a week ago you probably wouldn't have seen a trade, but now things have changed. Can you kind of explain a little bit what has shifted your perspective that makes you lean more towards the fact that him being traded is more of a possibility?
I would say the lack of any progress on a long-term deal that we know of, the proximity of the season, which is their first game's a week from tonight, as everyone knows. And then again, just sort of like I said earlier, like you start to get a sense of like these people are answering my questions differently than they were. And maybe now something is a possibility that we didn't think it was. Look, I mean, this could all sound very silly, like in 5 hours, and Micah Parsons re-signed with the Cowboys for 1,000,000 years. But, it's not the Dak Prescott situation. Dak Prescott was practicing. His agent and the Cowboys were talking. They were both sort of everybody sort of had an understanding that it was going to result in a deal, even if it didn't get done before week 1. So CeeDee Lamb wasn't at camp, but he and his agent and the Cowboys were talking. This is different, and it's gotten personal on some level. I think that has to do maybe, like the player is a different kind of player in terms of the way he carries himself and lets his sort of wears his emotions on his sleeve with regard to this. And I think, Jerry does feel, whether he's correct or not, does feel like he was done wrong. And so I think it's gotten to a point where there's more emotional, it's more personal than those others ever got.
One of those things about, you just mentioned, like Jerry feels like he was done wrong. And nobody was in that room that can at least speak to that except for Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons. Help me understand that. Does Jerry feel like Micah went in there? I know Micah said in his notes app thing that he posted on August 1st, he said, I went in there, I thought we were talking about leadership. Jerry approaches me about the contract. Does Jerry think that he went in there under the false pretense that he went in there to get a number to then take back to his agent? Is that what the I guess the divide is here? My
understanding, and your point is very important, that there were only 2 people in that room. So we only know one side and the other. My understanding is that Micah reached out to Jerry and said he wanted to meet. And, in retrospect, Micah says that was about leadership. That's sort of an odd thing to sort of call the owner when you're out of the country and say, hey, I'm going to fly back. Can we meet about leadership? Like that could wait. So I'm thinking that maybe, there was a contract, that it was thought to be a contract conversation all along. We have a story I'm doing with Todd Archer, our Cowboys reporter, and it's about this whole thing of Jerry negotiating directly with players. And I think it's scheduled to run tomorrow, but who knows at this point. But I think, if you look at Dak Prescott, he had to do the meetings with Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones, all that. But I think Dak would probably tell you he never talked numbers, that he always, if a number came up, it's like to talk to my agent. It feels like what happened here is that Jerry and Micah talked numbers, which if that's true was a huge mistake on Micah's part, and that Jerry felt like they had an understanding. And then Micah took it back to the agent, and the agent came, and Jerry said most of this, and the agent came back and wanted more, and Jerry said, I've already given to get to this point, and that sort of blew the whole thing up. So, yeah, that's my understanding of what happened. And again, I'm not saying that last part is what happened. That's what Jerry has come out and said.
Well, Graz, we'll be keeping our eyes peeled for that piece with you and Todd Archer on
I don't know.
Jerry.
It might never run. Like,
well, I hope it does, because I'm
gets
sure
traded today, and then the story never sees the light of day. So, but I'll send you a copy. I got
Please,
it. Yeah,
do.
Please. I want to read it. But what we are reading currently is your great piece up at ESPN.com. I'm urging everyone to read it. It's such a fun and interesting read where you kind of do Mad Libs. Don't be surprised if, and then you fill in the blank on all 32 NFL teams. Which one of these, if you had to place a bet at ESPN.com on, would you feel the most convicted about that you personally would not be surprised if X happened?
I have to remember what they all were.
There's a lot. I can help you out if you want.
Yeah, I do feel like I think the Packers one was Jordan Love will be an MVP contender, and that's based on my thought that the Packers are going to be an extremely good team, independent of whether they make any kind of trade this week. In fact, if that trade were to happen, I'd be upset because I was ready to pick the Packers to go to the Super Bowl, and now it would then be a popular pick, and I don't want that. But
you want the credit?
Yeah, I just
well, you know what? You have it right now here on Sportsman.
But no, I think that one. Jordan Love got hurt in the first game last year. It affected him. After that, the Packers. As I said, like the only games they lost that they were trying to win were to the Eagles, Vikings, and Lions. Like that's it. So that was 6 games. If they split those, then it could be a very different season. So they feel like they're very close. And if Jordan Love is healthy, and it sounds like the thumb thing will be fine for Week 1, if he's healthy, I think that it's a legit Super Bowl contending team.
Great stuff from Dan Graziano. Again, check out his piece at ESPN.com. Don't be surprised if, and he fills in the blank on all 32 NFL teams. Thanks so much, Graz. I'm going to try that coffee later. Thanks for the tip on that too.
My pleasure.
Well, coming up next is I'm over it with Pat Costello. But first, Courtney has this from Granger.
As you know, Michelle, managing